Ladies and gentlemen, what is quite possibly my favourite shooter game of the modern age has finally returned. It's either this or Halo, and this is Splitgate 2, a game that many people called Halo with Portals and PlayStation players called Halo on PlayStation. For me, it was a game that filled the gap when Halo was doing nothing between Halo 5 and Halo Infinite, and I think that is where a lot of this game's initial fanbase came from. As we all know, this game's fanbase skyrocketed, and at one point there was somewhere in the region of 60 to 70,000 players online at one time. That resulted in a lot of interest, which meant lots of money coming in for the developers. They received investment, and therefore Splitgate 2 is where we're at, the second iteration of the Splitgate series. As of recording this, I've played about 2 hours, possibly a little bit more, of the current playtest. So this is the February 27th to March, I think it's March 3rd maybe, playtest, and I also played about 15 to 16 hours of the previous test 6 months ago. So this is kind of my first impressions of Beta 2, I guess, or at least public Beta 2. There has been a couple closed ones, which sadly I was not invited to. But who knows, maybe in the future. Please, if anyone from Splitgate is watching this, please. Anyway, yeah, I will say out the box, like right out the gate, it plays pretty much exactly like the first playtest. The game, for me, for some reason, does run a lot slower. I'm not sure if that's a unique case, or if that's just the general consensus with everyone that's playing. But for me, my FPS is averaging around 70 with lows of 40, which is pretty bad. Because my specs are way above the recommended that they claim you need for the game. Not minimum, like recommended. So I believe the current recommended specs on Steam are incorrect. Those may be like recommended to even get into the menu, but in terms of actual gameplay, especially the big team mode, the multi-team big team mode, yeah, I'm playing an average of like 49 FPS on that. That is in all low settings as well. So yeah, and 1080p. I even decreased it to 720 at some points. So because some of you may know, I work at a company that produces PCs and laptops now. I thought I'd test the game out on a PC at work, which ran the game much better, and it's very enjoyable. Maybe I'm just due an upgrade. It has been about 4 or 5 years since I changed my PC. At work, I ran the game on Ultra at somewhere in the region of 90 to 120 FPS, which is much better, and that's at 4K. Now, when the game does run smoothly, it looks amazing. This is probably the best looking shooter game, visually, that I've played, at least so far. And I think it's probably the best, like, or at least the smoothest experience I've had on an Unreal Engine 5 game. A lot of Unreal Engine 5 games seem to have like a lot of bugs and issues with them for some reason recently. But Splitgate 2 is relatively smooth, besides the FPS drops on my own PC. Graphics look fantastic. The guns all feel great. The BFB, the bat, was finally added. That's been great fun to use. I like how much of a lunge it has as well. That really helps. Ammunition seems good and everything. All the weapons that were previously in the test seem to like operate very similar to how they did before. I believe the Slipstream, which was my favourite weapon, it's a power weapon which essentially is an SMG and a pistol, I think, in one. And you can like hold them separately as a dual wield, or you can combine them to make one weapon out of the two. I believe you could do that at any point. You could just like break them apart and run around with them separate, or put them together and run around with them combined. Now it seems like you can only combine them when you zoom in, unless I have a weird setting turned on. Seems like they changed that mechanic slightly, where it just automatically, connects together when you zoom in. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty sure you could do both before. Sniper rifle has also been added as well. That feels really nice to use. I got some nice no scopes and some scoped in kills with that. Feels very strong, powerful. I like the weapon sounds. In fact, that's something I have to compliment just throughout the game entirely. The weapon sounds really good. Just the sound design in general is insanely good in this game, from the music to the environment sounds, ambience to the weapon sounds. Even the sounds that the portals make. I think sound design is a massive improvement from Splitgate 1. I've also noticed that I think there is slightly more portal walls in this playtest compared to the previous one. There was a lot of feedback on Reddit and socials regarding the portal walls. People felt like there wasn't that many on maps, and portals were kind of just a thing you could do in the previous test rather than the core and main mechanic of the game. So I think that has been rectified a bit, and they've added more portal walls around the map. I myself find myself using them more and being able to use them to traverse the map, rather than, like I said, them just being a little gimmick that exist. So that's appreciated as well, that they've kind of focused more on that. And although it runs like doo-doo on my machine, the multi-team mode is incredibly fun. It's 8 versus 8 versus 8, so 3 teams of 8 players on a large glacier-style map. You can slide on ice to go incredibly fast. I believe right now it's just King of the Hill modes, like Domination, King of the Hill modes on that. But it's pretty fun. It reminds me obviously of Halo's big team battle, but without the vehicles. But they're not needed. It's still fun running around as, a human player. And it also feels much more casual than standard Splitgate. I think Splitgate got a lot of, not flack, but a lot of comments regarding it being catered to esports, I guess, and really focusing on like competitive play, the 4v4 stuff, whereas now with this 8v8 mode, does seem like there's more of a casual side to Splitgate than what was there previously, and it is fun. I do feel like I can lay back a bit more in that mode, and trust that my teammates can actually pull us through, rather than having to like outslay everyone and be, the main performer in a 4v4, for example. It's much less stressful. Just hopefully it gets optimized a little bit more before the game releases. Something else that a lot of people were doing in the previous playtest was using Eros. I'm pretty sure there was a stage where like I played for 3 hours straight, and almost everyone was using Eros. You might have seen like 1 or 2 Meridians, and again maybe 1 Sabrask after a few hours of playing. The devs noticed this pretty quickly and did nerf Eros a little bit, but I still believe that Eros is the go-to for this test. It is the most common character I'm seeing. I am currently max level Eros, level 1 or 2 on Meridian and Sabrask. I just think that speed, agility, that fluidity that we, had in Splitgate 1 is the best way to play this game. And that's not a bad thing. The other characters might be easier for people who are newcomers, especially Sabrask, which is a slower but stronger character. And then obviously Meridian being more sneaky, and obviously having that assistant role with the seeing through walls ability and stuff like that, and being a BR/DMR style of character. But yeah, if you played Splitgate 1, I believe that Eros is still the way to go. I believe it is so much better than the other characters for anyone that has a little bit of knowledge. But we'll see if it gets tuned even more to make those characters more evened out. Because it would be nice to have some incentive to try the others, rather than just being there for like player onboarding and stuff. But yeah, we'll see. No complaints anyway. My favorite character is still good. That's what I care about. Yeah, that's pretty much it. First thoughts, like in summary, like, you know, it plays kind of poo-poo, unfortunately, but it's still fun. I'm glad it's here. I'm gonna be sad when it's gone. I'm waiting for release with the hopes of optimization. The sounds are all great. The game looks amazing. Yeah, and I'm very hopeful that this will have more longevity than the original. So yeah, that's it. If you haven't tried it, then I recommend trying it out for yourself. You got nothing to lose. And I do think that once again, Splitgate can possibly fill the void where, you know, where Halo is missing, the void that Halo has created. There is no news on the next Halo game right now, and if Splitgate was to release in, say, 6 months' time, they might be able to have like a 2-year uncontested, you know, lifespan. I don't think there's any possibility that a Halo game comes out this year or next year. So yeah, I think they're releasing at a very good time, if they do release, you know, in Q3/Q4 of this year. Right, thanks for watching my ramble plus gameplay about Splitgate 2. I'm going to play some more and then probably do one more video on this, which will be like the final thoughts once I've tested everything and had a more thorough look into the game. I am going to try Meridian and Sabrask more, for example. And I also want to make sure that I play the new maps a lot more, because I've only played the new arena map once. So I definitely want to play that. And there's also a hardcore game mode that I want to play. And I believe there's another game mode which is the no pauses, so like no pauses in between rounds and things like that. I believe that one will just be standard, like 40 or 50 kills to win, TDM style, no breaks in between. So I want to try that and, like, you know, give an entire playtest summary once all the modes, maps, everything has been released. So yeah, all right, goodbye.